In today's junk journal with me, we've got a series of prompts that we're going to be working on. So this spread, I am combining the prompts of bright and bubble, and as you may guess by what I have on the screen here, I'm going to be doing some printing with bubble wrap. I feel like this is a classic when it comes to junk journaling in particular, because it's such an accessible way to do stamping and get a really nice textured effect on your page. And I figured combining it with the prompt of bright would steer me in terms of the colour choices that I was going to be making for this page. So I'm starting off by just laying a bit of a more plain background, and then I'm coming in to pick some imagery. So I picked this book off the shelf because the cover straight away was a lot brighter, so that kind of like caught my attention on my shelf, and then the illustrations and the imagery inside is a lot more vibrant than some of the other books that I have on my shelf. So I decided that this would be perfect, and I ended up not cutting this one out. I just decided to rip it to have almost a bit of a like patterned paper effect. So I was doing a bit of a like quick and easy way of including the imagery, but also treating it in a way almost like it was the colour. So I had that interest of the fact that it was the flowers, but I was mainly going for what can I include that will be like a contrasting and vibrant sort of piece on my page, but then also still allow me to have the printing from the bubble wrap on the left hand side. And I decided not to include too much on the page on the left because that was tissue paper, and I just wasn't sure how printing or like stamping on that would go. So I decided we're not gonna play around with that, but I did decide to have at least a little bit of interest going on for that page, and I did a little bit of stamping here with this set. It's really cute. I think it's Eric Small Things is the brand. I'll leave it linked down below if you are curious. But now the main event, the printing with the bubble wrap. So I kept this simple with just one colour. I used a pretty bold pink shade. Normally I tend to go for ones that are a bit more like paler, but I decided that since the prompt was bright, we're going to use this, and it did get a little bit splotchy. As you can see, it wasn't like a perfect print, but I don't think you're ever really going to get that with bubble wrap because of the texture of it, and so it was quite a nice way just to add some interest to the page. And I did decide to stamp that across the entirety of the page itself, and then I thought that maybe having a brown tag on this might help to clear a little bit of space in terms of adding some wording or lettering. At this point I wasn't quite sure what that would be, but I just knew that having a bit of negative space would help visually in terms of the composition, because otherwise I just felt like I would be competing with myself a little bit and things would get lost quite easily because of how textured and busy and bright the page was. So I just felt like having the brown helped to bring a bit more of the neutrals into it and just made it feel a little bit more like me, I suppose, in terms of my journal pages. And here I've just got some little stickers. These are different colours, some blues and greens that kind of complement the page, and so I just thought they would be a bit of a fun addition, again going with the sort of brighter colours for this. And I actually decided just to add a little bit of shading to some of the areas of the illustration, just to add a bit of depth to them and a bit of texture. So this is something that's actually quite subtle. You can see it a lot better probably in person than you can how it's picking up on camera, but I really enjoy doing this on things like this, and also on like napkins as well when you have imagery like this, because it really helps to add some definition and texture and just a little bit extra. Like, it's one of those things, it's so subtle but you really can see the difference, I think, on on a page, and it's also just quite therapeutic to do. It's almost like sort of easy like colouring, because you're just adding a little bit of shading. And then I decided I had this piece of book paper just to the side of me, and picked out a few words just to have some like found wording on the page. I've been really enjoying doing this actually in quite a few of my pages recently. If you've seen the other videos of me working in this journal, and if you want to see how I created any of the other pages within this journal, then I'll leave a link down below to the playlist where you can watch them all come together. Okay, so now I'm working on the next prompt, which is tissue, and obviously I had to go with the plain tissue paper that I've been using for some of my other spreads that you've seen me work in for this journal, and it's definitely something that I've been enjoying, having the almost challenge, I suppose, of thinking about different ways that I can use a more translucent material within my pages, and how that then sort of impacts the pages that I create. So I decided to use this page and cut out the text from the center of this frame and use that as the starting point for my composition, because I thought that the cutout frame would be interesting as you see through it on the tissue paper side of the page, but obviously not in the same way on the brown paper that I've got on the other side. So I thought that it would be a fun way to work with a different layout in that sense, because you've kind of got the different elements interacting, and I was pleased that actually it was like just the right size for this page. I mean, I guess if it had to like overlap or overhang in whatever way, then I would have made it work and it still probably would have looked quite nice, but it was just a bit satisfying almost that it was the perfect shape and size and everything for this particular journal that I've been working in. And so I wanted to do some stamping, and I thought this would be really interesting to see as well on the tissue paper because of the translucent effect. So I have this stamp that's a bit of a frame and works almost as a journal spot, but you can use it in so many different ways. It's really versatile, and so I stamped this sort of circular piece here, and you can see the way that it shows up on the tissue paper there. And whilst I was thinking about what text I actually wanted to include inside of the stamp itself, because I figured like I would keep that pretty clean and minimal, I decided to do some stamping then on the left hand side. And you'll notice as I go throughout this page, I've done all my like collaging and clustering and decorating and washi tape, etc., all on the left hand side of the page, and left the side with the tissue paper really like sparse and minimal in terms of how much like negative space I've got. And I think that really helps the tissue paper to kind of shine in terms of having the text just sort of sit there by itself. I ended up coming in with my brush pen and just doing some lettering, and I think definitely with the tissue paper elements that I've been including, I've been kind of figuring out that like less is definitely more when it comes to those, and so you really need to find a way to work it so that you're leaving a lot of the tissue paper alone and just doing like a composition in like the corner like I've done here, or in the center of it like I've done on a previous page. And so it's just a really interesting challenge to work on for a journal page, because especially when you consider how small this journal is, so like I'm really not creating something all that large at all. Like the surface area that I've probably got here is like what, maybe like a credit card size shape. Like I'm not doing a whole lot on the page, but when you are quite intentional with how you place things, that can have a big impact on then how the overall page can look within your journal and where you place different bits and pieces.
Appalachian sunrise meets my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, I can feel it coming in. Golden, golden, I'll follow only golden, 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 golden things. Mountain laurel high fives for miles in spring. Rainbow trout and a hummingbird wing. Golden, I'll follow only golden, golden, golden things. Gold hair, gold rings, gold leaves, gold anything, golden, I'll follow only golden, golden, golden things. Walk up the river by my sun. feet step over splinters of the moon. Golden, I follow only golden, 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 golden things. Gold birds, gold string, gold words, gold anything, golden. I follow only golden, 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 golden things, golden.
So as you'll see, I did leave quite a bit of blank space on this page, and it could be perfect for adding writing to it, but to be honest, I quite like the way that you have such a busy little cluster on one part of the page and then that space just to let it breathe. So that is everything that I have created in this journal with me. I hope you enjoyed joining me